Hello everyone, welcome back to Sill's Podcats, or welcome to Sill's Podcats, and welcome to another TBR video. This time, I regret to inform everyone, for February. Because 1 month is almost over. Never mind that. So, February in the US is Black History Month, and first of all, I think everyone during Black History Month, especially people who look like me, so like a plywall, should follow Black creators, specifically in this case from the US, but just in general, find Black creators that you actually want to be learning from on TikTok, on YouTube, on any kind of social media that you use. Just look and see how diverse your following and the people you follow actually are. Do yourself that favor. Second of all, I like to use months like these for an excuse, quote-unquote, to pick up some books off of my TBR, because if you have stuck around on this channel for more than 5 minutes, you know that I always have a lot of physical books lying around everywhere that I haven't read yet, and what I like to do with months like Black History Month, Pride Month, anything like that, is to try and read as many books off my TBR as I can that fall into a similar category there. Keep in mind here, before anyone says anything and before we continue this video, not all of the authors I will be talking about are going to be Black, because I have some books that are going to be rolling over from last month, and I have one book in particular that I want to read with other people, which is not by a Black author. And of the Black authors, not all of them are going to be from America. This is important because Black History Month is, at least the February version of it, is dedicated to African Americans or Black people in America, depending on how they want to refer to themselves. And so I do find it important to differentiate there, because if you want to make a recommendations list, which this is not, mind you, this is a TBR video, there's a difference there. If you want to make a recommendations list, for example, if you want to spread the word about some really cool Black authors that you found, do make sure that if you want to call it a recommendations list for Black History Month in February, that you make sure that all of those Black authors are from America. Just a small note there. Also, in case we haven't talked about this yet, read Black authors whenever. I take this as an excuse to read as many off of my TBR as I can, because usually I actually do get to my diverse reads sooner rather than later off my TBR, because they are usually more interesting than the old books on my TBR. Novelty is a thing here. But I do also try to read as diversely as possible all throughout the year. Months like these can be a great excuse to get to books that you've always wanted to pick up, or pick up again, perhaps, to reread and annotate, but you should not be using these months to only read Black books and then never touch Black authors ever again. Don't do that, okay? But, without further ado, with all of those disclaimers out of the way, let's talk about books that I want to read in February. First and foremost, the two books that I'm very likely going to be rolling over. One of them I have a slightly bigger chance of finishing in the last 2 or something days I have of January, and that would be The Counselor by E.J. Beaton, who is an Australian author. This is the first book in a series. The other books in that series are not out yet, so we don't know if this is supposed to be a duology, trilogy, a series of 10 books. No idea. This is a very intense political high fantasy where we follow Lysand Pryor, who used to be, well, who is an orphan and who used to be of a very low civil class, but is now one of the highest members of her court, because she's been made into, as the title suggests, the counselor. And, she is now tasked with finding a new ruler for the city out of, well, not for the city, for the country, out of the city rulers that are available to her. The political intrigue in this had my head in a twist multiple times. I am not big-brained enough for this on most days, which is why I'm only about halfway through. So there's a chance I will be rolling this over into February. The other book that I will regretfully be rolling over into February is this bastard, Winds and Truth by Brandon Sanderson. This is the, for me, last, for everyone else, just the 5th book in his Stormlight Archive series. I am reading this for a live show with Steph and Sarah. We've done all the Stormlight Archive books so far. I have made a tab every time I've had a problem with it. Enough said. This is horrendous and you will be hearing from me. Inevitably, this is a threat. But yeah, I'm about 1/3 through, which by the way translates to over 400 pages, so I love that for me. And I'm most definitely rolling this over into February. So, yay! Can you see how excited I am for this? I'm not. Another book that I'm technically rolling over because I've started my reread of it to get to the 2nd book, but this is where we kind of start getting into territory of actually February TBR of new books, would be Son of the Storm by Suya Davis Okumboa. This is the 1st book in his Nameless Republic series. I do believe it's supposed to be a trilogy. We have 2 books out so far. I really enjoy the series. Well, I enjoyed the 1st book because that was the only thing I read back when I got it in 21. I think I have it signed as well. Yeah, I got a book plate for it because it was a pre-order or something. I am about halfway through as well with my reread. It's fantastic. I really love it. Even though it is also pretty politically charged, like The Counselor, this is not so big-brained, simply because the chapters are shorter, and one of our main characters, Dunso, is, as another character, Lilong describes him, both stupid and very smart in the exact same body. And no one knows how he does it, but I relate to him on a very deep and personal level. So I really love this book. I love the magic that we have going on in it, and I love the character discovery and the character creation in this book. So I'm very excited to get to book 2, which is the perfect segue to get to the TBR of books that I will be picking up anew in February. So let's do that right now. Let's start first of all, you know, not so smooth, but whatever. Let's start with the one book that is, again, not by a black author, like from the ones that I'm starting new, because in February I would also like to get to We Do Not Part by Han Kang. This is my 3rd book by this author. I've read The Vegetarian first and then Human Acts with Steph, I think, either last year or the year before that. I don't remember, it was 23 or 24. This is her newest book, or at least it's the newest translation, but I also do believe that this came out relatively recently in Korean as well. And Han Kang, if you didn't know, won the Nobel Prize for Literature in 2024, which is entirely deserved, might I add. And this is also why this is the only sticker that I will never complain about in a book, because I think everyone should actually know that Han Kang won the Nobel Prize for Literature in 2024. I don't know what this is about. I think it's about Jeju Island, and I think, just as with Human Acts, this is about an actual historical event that happened in Korea. I could be wrong about this though, so I will find out. But I'm very excited to be heartbroken, because that's what she does. I love her stuff, okay? I'm just realistic. Alright, so let me grab the other books because we need to rearrange myself here. My lap is not big enough for this. Alright, so since I already talked about Son of the Storm, let's talk about the 2nd book in the series, which I'm also going to be reading, Warrior of the Wind, with this fantastic cover. This is Lilong. I love her as a character, she's fantastic. Book 2 in the Nameless Republic by Suya Davis Okumboa. Suya Davis Okumboa is a Nigerian author who at some point studied in Arizona and is currently, if I understood that correctly, residing in Ottawa, in case you are interested in that. I will be adding as much of the person's identity as I can when I talk about these books, again, because I don't want you guys to pick up some books and then just randomly throw them onto a Black History Month recommendations list without checking whether or not the author is American. So, let's just keep that in mind. Nigerian author, has lived in the US and is currently living in Canada, from everything that I understand. I do recommend the books. Just so we're clear, this is why I'm rereading the first one. I'm also rereading the first one because I realized I remember nothing. My memory is fantastic, except it's not. Next one is actually in German, and this is Nuramon by James A. Sullivan. James A. Sullivan is a German US-American Black author, and Nuramon is specifically connected to a character that he got to co-write in another big fantasy series in German, The Elves, that he wrote together with Bernhard Hennen. And Nuramon specifically is the character that he created, and the character that he got to write into this big fantasy series. And Nuramon, coincidentally, is also my favorite character of that series, so it's actually a crime that I haven't read this yet. But this month, for sure, this is the biggest one on this list, I think, with... hold on. Yeah, with just about 800 pages, apart from Wind and Truth, which I'm not counting because I don't want to. This is the biggest one of this list, but I'm very happy because I love Nuramon, okay? This is nostalgia for me. This is my treat. I'm so excited. I cannot believe I haven't read this yet. It's actually a crime. Right. Next one is a poetry collection, or well, a collection of, I think, poetries, essays, and maybe 1 or 2 short stories. I'm not entirely sure about all of the formats in here, but we have With Love, Grief, and Fury by Selena Godin. Selena Godin is a Black British author with Jamaican-Irish roots, and I have read another of her books before, which is called Mrs. Death, Mrs. Death. One of the best books of all time. I will not be taking criticism on it, actually. It is the most radical thing about grief that I have ever read, so I'm very, very scared of this book, actually. It will make me cry. I know that it will make me cry, but I'm gonna do this anyway, because when I cried to her other book, I also felt relieved afterwards. So I'm hoping for the relief part. I do think the cover is stunning, mind you, but she's not very gentle in how many emotions she evokes in people, okay? That's all I'm gonna say. Love her. What the fuck? Moving on. Next we have a short story collection by various authors, but this is all centered around Africa. And the book itself is called The Granta Book of African Short Stories, edited in with an introduction by Helon Habila. This has a numerous cast of authors with a lot of different backgrounds, so this is very hard to shoehorn into any kind of list, because you're likely going to miss 1 or 2 identities anyway. I am very excited for this though. I think the cover is absolutely stunning, and I've been really liking short stories relatively recently. I started discovering good ones in 23, and then we just kept on going for some reason. I feel like at this point I'm a bit blessed, so I'm hoping that these are also going to be in the category of short story collections I would recommend to people at the drop of a hat. So, that's all we can say about this one. And I think this is the last one of authors who is not American. We have The Beautiful Ones Are Not Yet Born by Ayi Kwe Arma. This is a Ghanaian author, an author from Ghana. I'm never sure, is it Ghanaian? I think it is in English. This is from an author in Ghana. I picked this up because of a recommendation that I heard online, and I'm very excited actually because I don't have that many classics that are by Black authors, so I'm always happy to add to that. And so this one, because it's also incredibly short, we love to see that. This one is definitely going on the pile, and I really want to prioritize this in February because I really, really want to get to it. So, fingers crossed I actually do. The last books on my lap, I think... Yes, the last books on my lap are all from authors who at least partially identify as American. American Black authors, that is. And so, you know, if you want to take any of these books, I guess you could do that. First one is Ever Fair by Nisi Scholl. This is, if I remember... Talking is hard. If I remember correctly, this is a sci-fi book. I think, like, the first sentence, which I find very interesting and very telling of, like, what the book itself is about, says, Everfair, the brilliant first novel, interesting, by acclaimed short story writer Nisi Scholl, potently explores the question of what might have come of Belgium's disastrous colonization of the Congo if the native populations had access to advanced technology. Sounds really cool. I'm super excited to get to this. Sci-fi fantasy are my biggest genres of books that I read, so any excuse to pick up another sci-fi fantasy book, particularly in this case by a Black author, I am running to get there, okay? So, I really hope that this is good. I need this to be good. I need good experiences in February, because I'm suffering with Wind and Truth. Okay, I deserve this. Next, we have 2 more fictions and 2 non-fiction essay collections, so I'm just gonna get to the fiction ones first, I think. Next we have this wonderful one, which is called How Beautiful We Were by Mbolo Mbue, who is a Cameroonian-American author. I mainly picked this up because look at that cover. Look at that. I saw that in the bookstore and I immediately ran to take it. So, I have absolutely no idea what this is about. I think I read the back at some point and then completely deleted it out of my brain, so I could not even tell you if you held a gun to my head. But I'm still incredibly excited to get to it because it's so pretty. Look at that. Look, I don't even think it shows up on camera properly, but it's so gorgeous. I love it so much. Very excited for this one. And the last fiction book, which is also, again, a book that I would like to prioritize a bit because I have been meaning to get to this for a very long time. I've been meaning to get myself a copy for such a long time. Okay, is Their Eyes Were Watching God by Zora Neale Hurston. This, again, is going to join the pile of classics by Black authors, which is steadily growing at this point, and I'm very, very happy about that. But I do think we can always pick up more. And this is I think this is the Virago edition, and it is one of the most stunning copies I have. Like, look at that. If I tilt it, the light catches on it because it is legitimately, like, gold foiled. It's so pretty. It's also fairly short, which I appreciate. I love it when classics are not 900 pages long. I'm staring at Middlemarch, which I'm also currently reading, but don't worry about that. I'll get to that in a second. But this has been on my list for very long, so this is also a priority read for February. I really, really want to get to this, and I do think that I have a very good chance because it is, in fact, one of the shortest ones on this list. And now last but not least, we have 2 non-fiction entries. Both of these are from authors that I've heard a lot about, authors and activists, that is, but I just haven't really delved into their works yet, at least not fully. And so I do want to take this opportunity to finally do that and to finally have a go at it, so to speak. And the 2 authors that I'm talking about are Angela Y. Davis and Audre Lorde. I have 2 essay collections, one from each. I have Freedom is a Constant Struggle by Angela Y. Davis, where she, among other things, talks about the abolitionist movement, Palestine, and the general struggle for freedom, and how everything we do when we strive for freedom is to consistently strive towards it. And on the other hand, I have Sister Outsider by Audre Lorde. This is just the first one that I managed to pick up in a bookstore nearby. I do want to read a lot more by her, including but not limited to, if I remember correctly, she was the one to write about the Master's tools that can never dismantle the Master's house. I do believe that was Audre Lorde. But I thought, you know, why not start with anything, because at this point, if I have never read anything by these authors, I might as well just start somewhere and then work my way up. So, in February, I want to read Sister Outsider by Audre Lorde. These 2 are also priorities simply because I do want to spend Black History Month actually also learning and not just enjoying myself, but with Black authors, which, you know, I think is fair enough. Reading doesn't necessarily always have to be about education, but I do think that, especially if you do it for a month like Black History Month or Queer Month or something like that, it does always feel rather good to not just read books that entertain you, but also books that legitimately teach you something. In this case, in particular, about these 2 women and their philosophies and their thoughts and everything they had for us. Right, this may look like an ambitious TBR, that is because it is, but We are nothing if not ambitious in this household. I'm gonna try to maybe finish Son of the Storm before February, so there's a chance this one is not gonna roll over. I don't think I'm going to be able to finish much else, because I do only have, like, 2 days left, so I don't think that's entirely possible. But I am still fairly confident that I can finish a good amount of these in February, because I still don't have uni, which is great. Also, if I read these, maybe I'll get distracted from the German elections. I don't want to think about that. Anyway, let me know in the comments down below if you've read any of these books, or if you've read anything by these authors, and if so, how you liked it. Feel free to share some more recommendations by Black authors, maybe Black American authors specifically, in the comments down below, or just share them with each other if there's more people striking up a conversation. It's always good to keep talking about books, specifically in this case by marginalized authors, because if we don't keep talking about them, no one is going to know that they exist, and they have a hard enough time already, so the least we can do for them is to amplify the voices that they already have, so that they actually reach the people that would like to, you know, hear about that. Anyway, that's, I think, all from me for today. These are all the books. As you can see, as per usual, I don't know anything about them because I go into my books very unknowing of anything that lies ahead of me, and that's how I like it. That's how I will probably keep it for the rest of my life. But, as always, I hope that you have a nice reading experience, maybe with some more Black authors that you've never heard about. You know, February is the perfect time to start something if you haven't already done that. I hope that you keep having a nice reading experience, especially in the month of February. If you are in Germany, I'm holding your hand in spirit, and I will see you soon.